Hey, welcome to the Hell Has an Exit podcast. I'm your host, Brian Alzate. This show is not affiliated with any specific 12-step program. If you or a loved one is struggling with an addiction, please find a local 12-step meeting. If you believe you may need detox or drug treatment of any kind, please call 833-999-1877 to speak to a specialist. This show is sponsored by United Recovery Project, a state-of-the-art drug and alcohol rehab facility. You can visit our website at unitedrecoveryproject.com.
Oh my God. I feel like I'm gonna pass out. Seriously. I'm an addict. My name's Jose. Oh my God. I am very grateful member of Narcotics Anonymous. I have, besides a bunch of, stuff rolling in my head, I have ADD, so my mind travels. And when I share that at a meeting, people laugh. They think I'm kidding. I am not kidding. I really do. So I wrote just something to keep me focused, First, I want to thank this committee for doing a fantastic job this weekend, man. Fantastic. Thank you so much, the Serenity Patrol, everybody, man, fantastic job. When I got asked to speak, I don't, in the Latin community, there's a lot of Jose's, So, I asked him, did you have the right one, Yeah, you had the right one. And I'm not going to lie to you, if I've been thinking about what to share, what am I going to talk about, what am I not going to talk about, and it just all went away. I want to thank the speakers that spoke on Friday, Patty and Sherman, also for doing a fantastic job, man. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm not gonna talk about steps. I'm not gonna talk about traditions. I'm just gonna pray, and I'm gonna share where I'm at. I'm gonna share my story. I'm gonna share how I got here, and I'm here, and I believe in Narcotics Anonymous so much. It's the only way for me. I'm not saying for you, but it's the only way for me. If you haven't noticed, I'm Puerto Rican. I got clean in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And it's funny, all those years living in the Bronx, never got clean there, but I got clean in Atlantic City. Getting clean in Atlantic City was such an amazing, journey. And I met a bunch of great people. And, it's just been an amazing journey. But I'm going to start from the beginning. I'm not going to talk about what I use and how much I use and why I use and was I born an addict. I don't fucking know. If I was born one, I know I am one. And thank God for Narcotics Anonymous, and I really, really am going to try not to curse. Really, I really am, okay? I believe in that spiritual things happen to me on the way to recovery. And I'm going to share some stuff with you guys that I never shared it on the floor. My wife knows about it, Some of the people that I sponsor, close people know about this stuff. I believe in, spiritual stuff, And my first experience with what we call, in Spanish, Spiritista, a spiritualist, in Spanish, Spiritista, someone like Santeria, that kind of stuff. it was an experience. My mother took me when I was almost 10 years old, between the ages of 8 and 10. She took me to this spiritualist guy because I was heading down the wrong path, and she wanted to find out why I was such a bad kid and in a lot of trouble at such a young age. And we walked into this place in Hamilton, New Jersey, and this guy was surrounded by a lot of people. There must have been like 50 people there, and we were in the back. And there was a few other people there with their kids. But the guy said, there's someone here from Atlantic City that has bought their son because she wants me to find out what's wrong with him. And everybody's looking around, and I'm like in a daze because my mother made me go to this, and I'm in a daze, and I'm just listening. And he says, it's you, and he points to my mother, and he tells us to come up to the front. So he says to me, you have a dark cloud over you, And I'm like not even 10, and this guy is scaring me, saying that I have a dark cloud over me. And he says to me, and to my mother, he says to me, because his Spanish accent was kind of really strong, and my Spanish was not my first language. And he's telling my mother, your kid is going to get into drugs. He's going to get into a lot of trouble. Thank you, John. But he's going to change his life. So I'm like, whatever, So then he turns over to my mother, and this is how I know it's true, not because I started using drugs, but he says to her, you're pregnant. And my mother was pregnant and didn't want to tell nobody because she already had 8 boys and 1 girl, and she wanted another girl, So he touched her stomach, and he said, you're going to have a girl. And 7 months later, my sister Maria was born, I don't know, This is the kind of things that went happening in my life, As time went on, we live in Atlantic City in a nice apartment, and our apartment burned down. And we wind up living in a hotel. And in this hotel, they say some things happen for a reason. Even when things happen bad, it turns out good. The owners of the hotel fell like in love with my mother. And because when the city wasn't paying for us to stay no more, he let us stay there. She worked. They gave us like 3 rooms, and they just treated us so good, And back then, I used to love to roller skate, and I was always on roller skates, like to smoke weed and roller skate for some reason, And I was wondering why I was always out of breath, So I met this lady that had an apartment downstairs, and she sat there, and people used to go in and out of her house, so I thought she was a drug dealer, of course, but she wasn't. It turned out that she was another Spiritista. She was a Greek lady, and she had this chain with a big eye on it, So it scared the shit out of me because, she always called me to talk to her. And I would never talk to her. I would just keep rolling on by. And she said to me, one day I came out and I was getting ready to roller skate. And she said, I want to talk to you. I said, I got a roller skate. But it started pouring rain. So I couldn't, we were under, the thing. It started raining, so I had to sit there. And she said to me, I have to tell you something. She said, the spirits want me to tell you something. And I was like, damn it, here we go again, So she says to me, I need to touch your heart. I said, okay. But I'm, with my eyes closed because of that big fucking eye she had, on her chain. Was scaring me, man. I mean, are there any Greeks in the house? Seriously, it's a Greek thing. I'm not lying with the big eye. I don't know what it means, but she had a strong accent and she was trying to tell me her name, Tuka. I kept calling her Tuka, but her name wasn't that. So for weeks after she told me what she needed to tell me, I kept calling her Tuka. So she told me, she put her hand over my heart, and she says, oh my God, she says, you're going to live a long life. She says, you're going to live until you're 81 years old. This is what she tells me, that I'm going to live until I'm 81 years old. And I'm like, okay, what else? And she said, and you're going to have 3 children. She said, you're going to have a boy and 2 girls. And I said, okay. Tuka, thanks. Can I go now? Because I'm like 15 years old, And I went about my way. I wind up reuniting back with my dad and moved to the Bronx. And that's where I met Janet. Got pregnant, 1982. My daughter Belinda was born in the Lincoln Hospital, After that, I kept using. And you know how we make promises to our spouse that we're going to stop using, and we're going to change our life? And it didn't happen. So one day, Janet told me, I don't love you no more. That's the worst thing besides when a woman tells you, I just want to be your friend. She said, I don't love you no more, and that she had met someone else. So I'm devastated because here I am, 20 years old, and I'm devastated that this woman doesn't love me no more. So I went to the Port Authority, and I took a midnight bus back to Atlantic City, and my plans were to kill myself. I met a guy. You ever meet someone, a stranger, and tell them everything about you? I met a guy, and he saved my life. The bus was crowded, 1 seat left. And I was like, damn it, man, I don't want to get on this bus. And I told the bus driver, when's the next bus? He said 7 a.m, and it was midnight. So I sat next to this old man. His name was John Pedro Santiago. I'll never forget him, but he liked to be called Pedro. So I sat next to him, and he could see that I was in pain, and I was, in pain. And I had this button that I used to wear that said F everybody, So I had this button on, and he's got like this smile on his face. And he says, hi. He says, in Spanish, very strong accent. Hi, my name is Pedro. And I turned on my overhead light, and I went, bro, can you read? And he said to me, I can't read English. So I wasn't gonna, take advantage of an older man and curse him out, So he asked me, what's wrong? And I said, nothing. And he asked me again, okay, what's wrong? So then he started automatically talking about himself. That he had a wife and one daughter, and he lived in Atlantic City on Sovereign Avenue, and he told me his address. And I'm like, why is this guy telling me all this? So finally, I opened up. And I told him that what happened, and I'm going to go kill myself, but I wanted to say goodbye to my mother, And how I was going to kill myself, I was going to jump in the ocean so they won't even find me. We talked all the way to Atlantic City. When we got to Atlantic City, he says to me, hang in there, Jose. All in Spanish. I can't say it the way he said it in Spanish. He said a few things, but he said, before I got off the bus, he said, your life is going to change by the time you turn 25 years old. So I said, okay. But he said, just keep your daughter in your head. Don't kill yourself. You have a daughter. You don't want her to grow up knowing that her father gave up. So, didn't kill myself, of course. And I have to say that I got clean July 24th, 1988, 2 months after my birthday, and I was 25 years old. And it's funny, like before we get clean, we always want to do that last one. I was waiting for this guy to take me to detox, and I had $20, so I went to cop, and I wound up getting beat. And I walked all the way back home, and I cried to my mother, and I said, I can't wait until 2 o'clock. I said, I got to do something to just, compose myself. She gave me $20, of course. I went and copped. I went and bought one bag. And I swear to God, if I'm lying on dying on my children, the name of the bag was This Is It. And I'm walking home, just looking at this bag. It wasn't like, this is it, this is the shit. It was like, Jose, this is it. You're done after this. So I got clean. I went into the detox, and then I went to a rehab, and I'm still clean. I came into Narcotics Anonymous, I tell you, Narcotics Anonymous has changed my life. The steps has changed my life. So I got clean in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Like I said, met some great people. 6 months, I got a sponsor, And when I celebrated my first year clean, I was so excited to have a year, and I was walking to the meeting because I didn't have a car. I used to walk to the meeting, and all of a sudden, I thought about John Pedro Santiago, because he told me to look him up to let him know that I was doing well. So I was trying to remember his address. I know it was Sovereign Avenue. And, I couldn't remember. So I said, okay, how many Puerto Ricans can live on Sovereign Avenue? It was all a Puerto Rican street. I mean, it was all Boricuas. It was all in the mailboxes. Santiago, Rivera, Gonzalez. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, oh my God, So I kept going to house and knocking, ringing in the apartments and saying, I'm looking for John Pedro Santiago, but he likes to be called Pedro. No, nobody here by that name. Nobody here by that name. So finally, I go up. I remember his address. It was 356. I remember his address. I look across the street. I go, wow, that's it right there. I run over there because I'm so excited. A year clean, and I want to let him know that he was a big part of it. So I knock on the door. This girl comes out and say, hey, I say, hi. I mean, this might sound crazy, but I'm looking for this guy named John Pedro Santiago. He's about 5'5", mustache, salt and pepper hair, blah, blah, blah. And it was the wrong house, So I was ready to give up, and I walked some more. And then I just went to another house, and that was the house. So another girl came up, and I said, hi, I'm looking for this guy named John Pedro Santiago. And she said to me, oh, he died. And I said, I probably have the wrong house. He likes to be called Pedro. And she said, yeah, that's him. She said, that's my father. I said, well, I just wanted to come and thank him because, about 5 or 6 years ago, whatever it was, he saved my life, And she looked at me and said, what the fuck are you talking about? Just like that. So I had to say it like that.
Hey guys, want to talk to you about United Recovery Project. We're a state-of-the-art drug and alcohol rehab facility. We have 3 locations in Florida and 3 locations in California. Our facilities are state-of-the-art, luxury, and high-end. We do take most insurances. If you're struggling, I always tell people to go to a 12-step meeting, but some of us need an extra head start to give us a fighting chance. For those of you that do need this head start, that are detoxing, that do think you need to speak to a professional, please call 833-999-1877. We are working with most insurances. Even if you can't get into our treatment center, we will point you in the right direction. Please give us a call today. Once again, that phone number is 833-999-1877.
So I said, yeah, he saved my life. And she said to me, my father died 25 years ago. I said, well, we must have the wrong person. I said, I was coming on a bus from New York City, midnight bus, and that's where I met him. And when I mentioned the bus, New York City, she starts crying. Her tears roll down her eyes. And she said, my father died on a bus coming back from New York City. He had a heart attack 25 years ago. So I said, okay. So I'm starting to feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. I said to her, well, I described him. I said he had a little silver flask, and on it was to my beloved husband from his wife, Tuti. And when the mother came out and I said, are you Tuti? She almost passed out because nobody calls her Tuti, but Pedro. So I told her my experience that I had on the bus with him, and I described what he was wearing and everything, and that was the clothes he died in. And they were getting ready to, at the end of the month, they were getting ready to move back to Puerto Rico because the mother wasn't well. She wanted to die in her hometown. We stayed connected.
It is time to make room for one more.
All you have to do is point.
Oh, you really are full service. Ooh.
Call 1-800-GOT-JUNK and we'll be at your house within 90 minutes.
We come at your convenience.
When you want junk to disappear, all you have to do is point.
You know, until she passed away, but I lost contact with the daughter, you know, because every year for my anniversary, you know, I will call them and let them know I was doing good and I'm still clean, and, you know, I don't know why stuff like that happened to me, you know, it just did. I went to the meeting that night to celebrate my first year, and I was speechless. I didn't know what to say. I was like frozen. You know, I didn't know what to say. It was weird. You know, the sponsor I had at the time was in California at that time, and I don't know. I really don't know what to say about that, you know. My first sponsor sponsored me for 12 years until he relapsed, you know. He relapsed with 13 years clean, and it was devastating for me, you know, to lose a person like that you're close to. So anyway, it took him 6 years to get back to Narcotics Anonymous, and he has almost 3 years clean, and he's here tonight. And that is such a blessing for me, you know. As my life kept moving on, I met the love of my life, the woman that became my wife, my best friend, Michelle. I already had a daughter. She had a 15-year-old. My daughter was almost 20. And we talked about not having no kids and going on trips and all that stuff. And it was great, and we wind up having sex, and she was on birth control, so I was like, yes, this is gonna work. And she wind up pregnant on birth control. You know, so we're in Atlantic City in our condo, and she comes out of the bathroom with her pants to her knees. So I'm thinking she wants to have sex. I'm like, oh shit, I'm ready, you know? But then she has this, you know, test thing, and she says, I'm pregnant. And boy, that shit went, whoop. It went right down, man. So she said, well, what do you want to do? I said, we're going to keep it. If you got pregnant while you're on birth control, then it's meant for us to have this child, you know? So we had this child. My son, Julian, was born September 2002, you know, my second child. You know, my son is real special. He's autistic. He has changed my life, made me look at things a different way. You know, when we found out he was autistic, man, my wife fought for all these services, and, you know, oh my God, an amazing woman. And he, you know, if anybody's familiar with autistic children, they mimic what you say. You know, like if you say, I love you, they say, I love you. If you say hi, they say hi. You know, it's just like that. So my son stopped talking. He couldn't talk. Today he's going, right? He's going to 3rd grade. He talks. He has conversations. He reads books. And I don't have to prompt him to talk no more. To say, the first time my son hugged me and said, Daddy, I love you. You're my best friend. That is priceless. Priceless. You can't buy that. You know? As time went on, you know, my daughter's 20, her son's like 16. We're like, oh my God, Julian needs a sibling. You know? This was one that we actually planned. But we said, first we're going to pray. I said, God, please give us a sign if we're supposed to have another child. So I prayed. About a week later, this Puerto Rican guy comes over to my house, Antonio, from my area, with his daughter, Daisy. And if anybody knows autistic children or been around autistic children, they don't like to be around other children. They like adults, but they like to be in their own world. So when Antonio walked in with his daughter, my son ran right up to her, hugged her, started kissing her, and me and my wife and I looked at her and go, oh my God, we're supposed to have another child. He needs a sibling. So, you know, we had sex, got pregnant. And she was 8 weeks pregnant, and we went to Florida, and we were going to get married in Florida, Orlando. You know what I mean? We got married in Orlando, so we went to Florida. She's 8 weeks pregnant. We're supposed to get married that Monday, and that Friday, she starts bleeding. We go to the hospital, Celebration Hospital, and you know, they take a picture of the woman and the blood and all that, and said to us, there's no heartbeat. So, two things you can do. We can give you a pill and you can leave, or you can get a DNC. I told my wife, take the pill. My wife never listens to me. So she said, I want the DNC. So we were there 10 hours. She finally got the DNC, man. We were freaking devastated. And we still went with our vacation. And I said, we're going to try again. So when we got back home, we tried again. And about 8 weeks later, she was pregnant again. And I'm like, damn, I'm fucking good, man. You know? This is what goes through my head. So she goes to the doctor. She's like 20. She thinks, this is the story gets weird, but this is the miracle. She goes to the doctor. She believes she's like 8 weeks pregnant. The doctor does the sonogram, shows the picture, and she said, he said, Mrs. Planton, he said, you're 20 weeks pregnant. And she said, you got the wrong baby up there. She says, I'm not 20 weeks pregnant. I'm like 8 weeks pregnant. He said, no, you're like 20 weeks pregnant. He said, no, that can't be because I just had a DNC on this date. So the doctor, they go all the way back to do the thing. My wife was still pregnant from the DNC they did. And we're like, oh my God. So the hospital in Florida kept calling us for the $50 copay. And I said to them, dude, listen, you don't want to be messing with my wife. You guys just gave my wife a DNC. she is still pregnant. She's ready to sue you. But I said, we're not going to sue because this is a miracle. You know? So we kept going. About a month or so later, she started bleeding again. We run to the hospital. The doctor said the baby's okay. We had to go every 3-4 days to the hospital and check and everything. It was the toughest pregnancy ever. So finally, she's born 6 weeks early. See, and this ain't nothing against men, but women are the strongest people on this planet. And I have a lot of respect for you. You know, because I do. They are. Any person it's just unbelievable. So my daughter was born 6 weeks early. My daughter Maya. You know, we named her Maya Destina, you know, because she's part of our destiny. She was here for a reason. It's beyond my wildest dreams, man, how this happened. You know, moving along, started a business, got a mortgage, a second mortgage, you know, loan, whatever. Started a business, lost the business. With this economy, I'm still paying on loans. But see, this is where I believe where some things happen for a reason, okay? We lost the business in July. In October, my wife got diagnosed with small cell cancer. You know, it totally turned our life upside down. In and out of hospitals, sick like a dog. We thought it was over. And a few weeks ago, we found out that she's got more tumors on her spine. And we're devastated. But in all this time, I still practice the program. I still go to work. I take care of my kids. I feed them, I bathe them, and I take care of my wife. She's my best friend. And how could you not take care of your best friend, you know? If you're married, if you're in a relationship with someone, I hope they're your best friend. And I hope you thank God for them, you know? My wife right now is in Hawaii because her son is deploying to Iraq. So she's devastated about that. She just started her chemo again. And we're going to just take it a day at a time and continue to move forward. And what happens? You know, I can't afford. You know what's sad is when I get in my head and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to have to bury my wife. I'm going to have to tell my children. And I try not to go there. You know, at my job, some of the people think I'm still getting high. Because I'm always smiling and joking, and I keep telling them that I'm just having flashbacks and they don't get it. And some of them think I'm into some religious thing, and they ask me, where do I go? Because they want to come there too. And I say to them, you can come. I know they won't, but you can come. I said, there's a bunch of people just like me, you know, that are high on life, you know? that are high on life. You guys are awesome, you know? I have a sister, and she's here tonight. She just celebrated 15 years clean. You know, I have a great sponsor, you know, Jack, love him. I have a great sponsor. I have great friends. I still try to get to a lot of meetings. I love to serve. I love to help people, but I love to help people that want to help themselves. You know, I'm not going to waste my time if you don't want to help yourself. You know, I'm not doing it. So this is what the steps mean to me. And I'm so glad that this is a we fellowship and everybody comes up with their own everything. You know, the steps for me are about meaning. They give you meaning. You know, they teach you about trust. They teach you about self-forgiveness. You know, in the fourth step, you find out who you really are. You know, and the traditions, they teach you about purpose. And what I mean by purpose is feeling that you belong somewhere, that you're a part of service. You know, that we learn how to serve in NA, and in turn, we learn how to serve others. One of the reasons why I don't wear NA shirts no more, and I'm not knocking anybody that wears them. This is my own experience on why I don't. I had a white shirt that said, "My gratitude speaks when I care and share with others the NA way." And one day in Ventnor, I'm at a Wawa, you know, and I park in the handicap spot because I'm lazy. So I come out, and this old man says to me, "You know, you're not supposed to park there." And I said to him, "Why don't you mind your effing business?" So he came up to the car, and I thought he was going to hit me. And he said to me, "You know the difference between you and I?" He said, "I would never curse at you." So as I'm driving away, slithering in my seat, I stop at the next store, CVS, and I'm still thinking about this old man. I get to my girlfriend's house, I walk in, and this old man is sitting in my living room. And I said, "Oh, shit." I said, "How did he find my house?" You know? And it turned out that it was my girlfriend at the time's father visiting from Philadelphia. And he didn't say nothing. He didn't mention it to her. He didn't say nothing. He let me squirm all night. Needless to say, that relationship didn't last. But that's the reason why I don't wear NA shirts no more. Because when I act like an idiot, I want to remain anonymous. Thank you for letting me share.
This show is not affiliated with any specific 12-step program. If you or a loved one is struggling with an addiction, please find a local 12-step meeting. If you believe you may need detox or drug treatment of any kind, please call 833-999-1877 to speak to a specialist. This show is sponsored by United Recovery Project, a state-of-the-art drug and alcohol rehab facility. You can visit our website at unitedrecoveryproject.com.